There is no shortcut to success. None. None. You cannot plant a seed today and expect to bear fruit tomorrow. It's impossible. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Lydia Show. I'm Dr. Lydia. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you for joining me and sharing all my previous episodes and joining me here today. Today, I wanted to talk to you about focus. And I alluded to that in a lot of the previous sessions, but today I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into why I think focus is so necessary in everything that you do. And while I was learning, a part of exploring and my self-improvement, because I'm also a mom and a single mom at that, I wanted to be a better mother for my children. And so while I was doing that, I came across this book, The Outlier by Malcolm Gladwell. And let me tell you, when I read this book the first time, there were so many aha moments in there that I thought, oh my goodness, how come I didn't know this stuff existed? Like, how come I didn't understand these studies? How come I didn't know? And in truth, since then, I've read it probably 20 times over. Because a lot of times with these books is when you read them over and over again, a lot of times you're at a different place in your life where you receive the information a little bit different. At first, or sometimes you may be resistant to, implementing some of the things into your life. But as you go through it the first time, you may get one nugget that you're like, okay, I can add in. The next time you'll get something else. And because you're a different place in your life, it works and it will work really well. So in my quest to also being a better parent, I came across the book. And something that was interesting in the book that stood out to me more than anything was they did a study when it comes to baseball players and in Canada. And when they did that, they noticed that the children that did better overall or possibly end up playing professional ball is because they took them at a really young age and they put them into intensive training only for that career. And it also taught me, this was my first inclination and my first lesson of the 10,000 hour rule. Because until Mr. Gladwell, I never knew that existed. Okay. And so at that time, my kids were really young. So I was like, oh, wait, what if I could test this theory to see if it actually worked? What if I was to do something similar? And I told you about last episode about the 100-hour, right? And so instead of just being a little bit better, how are extraordinary people made? And that's what the Outlier dove into to explore. And it talked about people like Tiger Woods, like Mozart. His parents were first teachers and then they taught it to them. Tiger Woods, his parents were teachers or golfers too, and they did the same. And if you look at excellent people like Beyonce, how her parents invested in her and taught her really young, even the Jacksons, right? I went and I looked and studied and looked at their blueprint and I thought, wow, this was something amazing. And if I understood this theoretical aspect now and seeing the outcomes to their work, well, what if I did the same? So after I was doing that, and of course, my kids were developing and growing, because some people say that kids are just talented or naturally talented. And that was also a theory that I wanted to test. And then I was like, nah, it's not. Because at first, they were just ordinary children that weren't really good at dancing, weren't really good at harmonizing, weren't really good at playing instrument. But as they practiced more over the years, they got so much better. So testing all of that, I realized that it was intense practice and Mr. Gladwell was correct. So again, I'm sharing all this stuff because I'm showing you guys that I've done these stuff in an applicable format, and it didn't work for me. So I went to this tea party once, and and this is a debate that I often have with, parents that I get to hang around, and I tell them how busy even the 4-year-old is, and how is what I have his scheduled to be. And I often tell them that if you look at the prince or the Queen of England when they have the grandchildren, or children of affluent flat families, when they're born with a sense of responsibility. They're born with everything that they do within their lives. It is to help them to possibly take over their family business, right? Them going to school, every lesson that they've learned, whether it's discipline or whether it's additional language, it is in line with the plans that essentially their parents or their grandparents may have had for them. And that brings me to the choosing your child career thing. Because I went to this tea party once and we had this discussion about, you know, I asked, like, would you choose your child's career? And they were like, well, no. My question was, what it is that you want your child to do when they grow up? And I often get this response from loads of parents. Whatever they want to do, whatever they could try a lot of things, and whatever they feel right that they want to do, they could go ahead and do. And then knowing what I know now, I think so one parent, and of course, I was trying to be the devil's advocate because a lot of parents don't even think this far ahead. I said to her, I said, you've got a little girl, right? The little girl was probably 6 months old. She says, I want her to go to college. I want her to study whatever she wants to study. I want her to do whatever she wants. So then I said, well, what if she wants to be a stripper? What happens then? And she had a flush look over her face, right? Because of course she's Christian, and that's something that you don't even want to think your child away. And then she said, well, then we all would sit down and talk to her and try to direct her in doing the right thing. And I thought to myself, so why wait until it gets to that extreme? Why not have these discussions now? Because for a lot of us, because we don't have a sense of value or a sense of family commitment or a sense of belonging, right? We're innately searching for that. And I think to myself, too, that's why a lot of people join the army. But back to the story. So I said to her, for instance, Maja at the time, he was like 6 months old, too. And I told her, I said, look, when I was having him, I asked God for a musician. That's what I wanted. And I knew even when I was pregnant with him that no matter what they told me, I was high risk, the potential of anything is that I knew what I asked God for and I knew what I was going to get. So I wasn't worried about any of that. And what I did was I put him on a schedule because, again, with the 10,000-hour rule, and here's a really good example about the 10,000-hour rule. So I put Maja on this schedule from from I was pregnant, really, where because I wanted him to be a musician, I needed to develop his ear. So I wanted to make sure he had either relative or perfect pitch. If you're a musician, you will understand that. Because of course, I didn't want his ear or ear training to start when, he gets to be a lot older because it becomes a lot more challenging. So I have him on a schedule where he wakes up early in the morning. He does tennis. He goes and he shoots. He does his music lessons. He does piano. He does, I keep his schedule really busy and really intricate. And I know a lot of people in different social backgrounds do the exact same with their children because, again, the plans and the purpose that they have for their children is for them to be a certain thing. Unlike the majority of us want our children to feel a lot of different things out. So here goes the thing. If they start at, like Tiger Woods at 2 years old, and they put 2 hours a day until they get to be, say, around 5 or 6. And at 6, they now put in at least 4 hours a day. Now, granted, you're considering taking off a couple of days for the weekend because you don't want your child to be burnt out, right? And holidays, few days for holidays. So I kind of calculated out to about 280 days a year, give or take. Then they would get to the 10,000 hours in approximately 10 years. It's kind of like the same example, a similar example Mr. Gladwell provided in his study, right? And either way, you could calculate this for your child or your grandchild or even for yourself if you are thinking of doing something substantial. So here goes the idea about them creating their own, and I'm going to give you a visual on this. I want my child to be a basketball player. I've got some blocks here, right? Here, we'll create one block for the basketball player. Okay, so say it's a little boy. I want him to be a basketball player here. I want him also to do soccer. He don't want to do basketball anymore after a year, right? Now he wants to do soccer. But now soccer is gone. I don't feel like doing soccer. Let me do football, American football. That's what he wants to do. Oh my goodness, he likes to swing around. So maybe he wants to do gymnastic. Here he is. Okay. Then, oh my goodness, he starts liking the idea that I could be a chef. Here, you see what's happening? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I've done the exact same thing with my children and my niece now. I try to explain this to her so that they will understand. And so when most families or most parents tell me that they want their children to try a lot of things. So every single year, you're trying a lot of things. Here you are. Oh, wait, volleyball. I'm good at that too, right? Oh, wait, here, can I do singing? I'm good at that too. So as you can see right now, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 houses they started building. And the problem with that is that most kids, they want to do a whole lot of different things. So I started basketball, I quit. I started soccer, I quit. I started football, I quit. What is also happening is that they're now developing the habit of quitting. And no wonder when they grow up and get to be in the adult world and you have a job, I don't like it, I'm quitting. No wonder why they go through a lot of jobs, because there was no level of commitment. So here goes. So are they really building a house? They've really now starting to build 7 different homes. On the other hand, check this. For instance, my children with music. They like music, right? And so every single day, they're practicing music. They're singing. They're singing. And every time you practice, what's happening is that you're building, if it's just a voice, what's happening is that they're building a wall, right? The more you practice that, and if you go now and you're trying to build another wall, let's say I now learn how to play the guitar, because the guitar helps with what? You're singing and you're improving your skills, right? Here it goes. You're building another wall and another wall. You want to play the piano and you're doing this, right? Now, the next thing is that if you're going to write a song, you start doing this. You're songwriting, because songwriting obviously is related to music, right? And so now what happens is you've built a room of which you now can insulate yourself. After you've gotten your 10,000 hours and you continue to grow within that same thing, this is the mindset we need to have. So why not continue and go all the way and see what it is that you committed to all the way through? You've insulated yourself. So they grow up. For instance, like my daughter, she likes to do makeup. Now, makeup is a part of the entertainment business, right? So now she's doing makeup, more makeup, more makeup, more makeup, right? You see what's happening? They're now attaching one room to the other room. And it goes on and on and on and on. Now, this is the reason why when you see like Serena Williams, it's just one skill after the other. She got really good with the backhand, really good at serving. See, two separate skills, but it's all under the one umbrella of tennis. Then she got good with her speed and her fitness. She got excellent with her serving. She got great at understanding nutrition because these are things that you put in your body. Then she got great at understanding public speaking because, after tennis, you have to be able to speak to the camera. She got really good at fashion because she now needs to go to events and to be able to speak to people and for them to understand what she's saying. And she looks really good doing it. You see what I'm saying? So this is for me why I wanted to do this, because so many people, they have, I think to myself, and look, I stand corrected if we disagree on this, because years ago, I would not have seen this way had it not been for Mr. Gladwell. And right after him, I continued to read so many other books like about Not Yet Theory by Carol Dweck and all these different studies, because I did tell you before is that how, I don't know, somebody said once that, or my kids actually say it too, that it's possible that I have some form of attention deficit disorder, because that's what I do. Like I dive into a subject and I want to really learn as much as I can about it. Right. And to me, when I have a good grasp of it, then I could move on to another subject. Right. So that's why it's important that your child focus. Now, the problem is that after they learn the habit of quitting, then they get to college, they're doing the exact same thing. When you go to school, when you go to a regular, when you start going to school, that's why they introduce to you language, some business, they give you different electives. And then for you to specialize and try to find things that you love. However, consider this. If at home we start out really early and find what it is that they are into, I'm not necessarily saying that you pick outright. Again, with my kids, I tell you purposefully that this is what I wanted, this is what I asked God for, and I intend to follow through and see it through. However, if you decided now, or if you've seen your child like dancing, and then you wanted to put him or her into ballet, and you're thinking, what kind of career they would possibly have, I suggest that regardless of what it is and that you see your child is good at, I would suggest that you fuel that fire and fuel it really early. It's funny, like my oldest daughter, she said to me initially when I asked her what she wanted to be, one of her first things that she wanted to do, or she always told me, I wanted to be an artist. And I said, oh, well, I was brought up in a house where music, being a musician or being an artist would not get you where you needed to go. And so what I did with my ignorant self at the time was to tell her that, no, you should be a lawyer or a doctor, lawyer, doctor, or an engineer or something like that. Because in my mind, that should be where you go. But they're not all on this earth to be lawyers or doctors or engineers. Some of them are musicians. Some of them are artists. Some of them can be whatever they want to be if you truly just believe in them. And basketball players, whether it's soccer. But my thing is, if they put the time in, and someone also said to me, well, what if they don't make it in what it is that they're doing? To me, the first thing I think of when they say that, one, there's only plan A. So there are other elements of plan A. The reason why they may not make it in that is probably because everything that they needed to learn within that vehicle needed to get them to the next step, right? Just like I talked about in the Alchemist book previously. So every journey, every road that you've taken, every stop, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the final destination. For instance, again, I talk about my 17-year-old now. When we were doing music, he had came to me, and this all about the same focus, okay? He came to me and he was probably about 8 years old. And he says, Mom, can I play basketball? And I was like, I don't know if you could play basketball. One, because he has really terrible asthma and he really couldn't breathe. So to me as a mom, all I'm thinking to myself is health first, because he's the kind of kid that will push himself to the extent where, and there's a lot of people who die because of asthma, and I didn't want him to be one of those. And we sat down and I said to him, you could play sports only if your health gets better. And of course, consulting with doctors, they said that years, probably when he was about 14, because he was premature, that his lungs would develop enough for him to play. But at 8 years old, I explained the exact same building blocks to him and all the hours and years that he already put into music. When he got to be 14, he reminded me of that and he said, now my health is better. Can I play basketball? Do you know what I did? I went now and I did the exact same thing because I wanted to see if, depending on where his dreams wanted to take him, right? If how the 10,000 hours would benefit him if he scheduled certain amount of hours within intense practice and where he can improve and grow and be what he wanted to be. So much so that he met in a really terrible car accident last year. Bust his knee out, all his tendons, his muscles. It was really terrible, guys. And when I looked at him and I saw his knee, in truth, what came to my mind was, you already had your 10,000 hours in music, right? So I wasn't worried that, oh my goodness, he would be shattered. When the doctors came in and told me that he would never play again, the doctor said, they've never seen an injury like this and a kid or somebody recover from this. I sat in the bed with him when he woke up from his surgery and I explained what the doctor told me. And then my next question to my son was, do you want to play again? And he said, yes. And I said, Mommy's got a plan. And when I said that I had a plan, I meant it, because today, 6 months later, the doctors see him playing. This evening he has a game. The doctors see him playing and doing things that never thought possible. The most they could say is God is nothing but short of a miracle for this kid to be able to play. And it's also with the mindset of focus and the belief in himself and his ability and understanding that he wanted it bad enough to do whatever necessary to get it. And the other thing too with him and with all the children around is that I don't allow them to quit or to give up on their dreams. Because there are days that I would see him and I knock, hey, what's going on? Do you remember you said you were going to do that? You remember yesterday we talked about that, where we can hold each other accountable? Remember you were supposed to practice today? Because it is my job to do that for them. It's their job to do that. And let me tell you something, they do that for me too. If I tell them, Mommy has to, this is my list, I have to do X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D. They will come and they'll knock. And if by any chance that I decided that I wanted to sit there and watch TV or something like that, or even be on the phone longer than expected, they'll, Mommy, remember you said you were supposed to do that? Because they're holding me accountable as I would do for them. So I don't allow them to quit and they don't allow me to quit either. Because I also understand in reading is that the mind is the most powerful thing. Wherever you tell the mind to go, the mind tells the body to go, it will do it. So that's really, and I've seen it. I've seen it with my son. I've seen it with other people that have been around, just by me pouring into them and them pouring into me. It is amazing what we all can accomplish. The other question is, if he or she doesn't want it, what if they don't want it anymore? Again, I'm reminding them why they started to do this in the first place. Why? Why did you start to do this? Why not put the time into it to see what will happen, or if your dreams will come true? What's the worst that can happen? I told you that the last time. It's either it's going to happen or it won't. But if you stop halfway, you will never know if it will happen. The same thing, as I'm wrapping up, is the same thing while trading or investing. People will say to me, what is the easiest way to make money? Or I have a little bit of money I want to invest. Please tell me the shortest and quickest way to do it. And in my head, I go right back to the 10,000 hour rule. And my first thing that I will say to anybody is that whether it is playing basketball, an instrument, learning a new skill, golfing, soccer, whether it's on the job, whether it's an education that you're going to do, whether it's a class that you're going to take, whether it's cooking, whatever it is, there is no shortcut to success. None. None. You cannot plant a seed today and expect to bear fruit tomorrow. It's impossible. So give yourself grace, give yourself patience. Understand that only by focus, where you take away everything that's not conducive to the environment, all the distractions, and let them focus, give them the right training, the right tools, the right everything, and you helping them to get there. This is the only way we can be self-actualized and be fully ourselves, truly and authentically who we are meant to be. Understanding that, the last point I'll bring out here is that when they say is that after a couple of years of making it easier for your children, then they won't be warriors anymore. This is the way for you and I to make sure that we continue to create warriors. This is the way for you and I, even by looking back, for them to realize that how far we've come and how far we have yet to go. That is the end of this episode. I hope everything that I've shared with you have been helpful in some way. Remember always to like, share, subscribe. And thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Dr. Lydia Show. I'm Dr. Lydia. See you next time.